Let's get into the Nigerian market, which exchange today hosted the top officials of Stonex Group, a $2 billion company listed on NASDAQ in the United States, after closed-door meetings with both the UK officials and the Nigerian union team of Stonex. Temi Pokuola, the CEO of the NGX Limited, led the closing gong of the day's session.
First of all, our market is almost fully electronic now. So whilst we do still have the trading floor, a lot of the trading is actually done digitally. We've only just reopened the floor for physical trading to make sure we can continue to facilitate things like this. But I think Stonex, many of you would be familiar with exotics back in the day, and Stonex has made a very big play into Nigeria by purchasing that business. Before then, and I'm sure the chairman or the global CEO will touch on this, they had a very strong footprint in Nigeria, primarily around payments, FX, facilitation. So for us as a market, when we think about foreign investors, FX flow, a firm like this, we think can really help us to facilitate those discussions. So they understand the pure market side of our business and also understand the FX side, what the key drivers of liquidity and the like are in our market. We also discussed upstairs their view on just Nigeria post-May 29. How do they see the appetite for Nigeria by foreign investors? Can we start to hope that that picture changes? You remember we had a time that the share of foreign investors to local was 52% in favor of foreign investors. Today it's a very small figure, the foreign investors. And we think also it leaves a lot of room and hope for growth for our market going forward. So lots of reason to be optimistic. It's very good to see foreign investors like this start to re-engage with the markets. We had another one similar earlier today from another global foreign body, and we can start to see now that the interest and appetite in Nigeria is picking up.
Well, shortly after the closing gong, I had a brief chat with some of the officials of the visiting Stonex Group. First was Philip Smith, the chief executive in charge of Europe, Middle East and Africa, and later the chairman and the CEO of Stonex Nigeria.
Over the last 25 years, as we've expanded our footprint and our capability throughout the continent, and sub-Saharan very much so, we've just gone about it in a very methodical, expansive way. Our original footprint really was around foreign exchange and providing access to sub-Saharan currencies. We've expanded that in metals, we've expanded that into equities, and more recently into fixed income and correspondent clearing on the securities business out of the US. So very much a profile of, we've got a lot of products that we have throughout our portfolio, a global portfolio. And we see it as our objective to identify opportunities throughout the continent where our product offering can match perfectly the demand and the requirements, and hopefully be a very successful addition to capabilities on the ground throughout the continent.
So if you're looking at investors looking at opportunities across the African continent right now, across the financial markets and the various asset classes, what are the key considerations when you look at inflation environment, exchange rate situations across a number of big economies across the continent?
Well, I think if you look over the last probably 15 years where we've had global interest rates at almost zero, there's been a lot of interest, a lot of investment, and a lot of desire to seek yield. What we've seen probably in the last 6 to 9 months is a reversal of that, where the yields outside of Africa, for example, are increasing. They may have peaked, we're not sure yet, but it's definitely reduced the interest in investing in not just Africa, but outside of the US, outside of Europe. And it's had a big impact on local markets, as we've seen in Nigeria, as we've seen in other countries who are facing a softening of local investment. And that's something, usually does go through cycles, but, where we see that's changing is very difficult to predict.
What's the interest in Nigeria, specifically speaking?
From our perspective, this is a wonderful place to do business. It is it's the most populous country in Africa. I consider the most vibrant and exciting country in Africa. It is a wonderful example of democracy, as we're seeing over the next 2 weeks in the forthcoming inauguration of the new administration. And I think this is an opportunity that will go through cycles of investment and divestment, but on the whole continues to be a very successful place to do business, a very successful place to hire, and we continue to see that from Stonex perspective.
Stonex Financial mainly deals in fixed income, equity, correspondent clearing, Stonex Agency, foreign exchange. Afam, do you have any more things to add?
Yes. Yeah, so we basically provide access to clients, local clients, to develop markets in terms of fixed income equities, correspondent clearing, like you mentioned, repos, global payments, commodities, precious metals. We have offices across the globe. Our main aim is actually to provide market access for offshore clients into local African markets and sub-Saharan Africa and, SA, other African countries, and also to provide the local clients in Africa access to developed markets as well. So we act like a bridge to access over 80, 90 markets across the globe, exchanges, markets, to deepen the connection between African clients and their offshore counterparties.
Tell me, this relationship with the Stonex Group, what is in it for you, for the company here in Nigeria?
For the company in Nigeria, I've been involved with the company for 24 years, first in foreign exchange, now as chairman at Stonex Financial. What is it to me? They're reliable, dependable. We probably ran one of the most efficient foreign exchange operations in the country for a long time and continue to. We've been in Africa, we believe in Nigeria. This is the only physical office we have. So what it means to me is loyalty to the country for the group.
Interesting about how Nigeria's the exchange rate and inflation, interest rate environment is. How are you dealing with all of that on behalf of clients that which you hold in their portfolio?
We basically, locally in Nigeria, we facilitate, we don't hold portfolio for clients. We only advise and execute. In terms of inflation and exchange rate, it affects adversely clients. But then in overall emerging markets, I've seen capital flight as well over the past year. So it's something, it's a global concern. Inflationary concern is global. But then we hoping that with the new government coming in, with new policies in place, we're going to see some of that a bit. And we're going to see more confidence, more investments coming into Nigeria and also for the local clients as well.
Tell me a little bit about the clientele in Nigeria, for example, Mr. Chairman, in terms of the deep pockets clientele you're dealing with, corporates, HNIs.
That is restricted information. It's confidential. But what I can tell you is we've dealt with the biggest corporates, the majors, the biggest people in Nigeria, our clients, and they find us to be dependable.
Portfolio size of Stonex?
It's a $2 billion company on the NASDAQ. Market cap.